Okay, it's real. We're live.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away?
Pretending I have a watch.
Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future
right now.
Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
I think that's still me. Thank you to Ryan Treasure for that wonderful introduction. Where else would I be on a Wednesday? It is 11:02 a.m. here on the Eastern Seaboard, or whatever we're calling it these days, of the United States and North America. And I've got guests from all over the world. I might even ask them what time it is where they are. We're tackling a brand new topic today. I'm very excited about that. It's something I've heard a little bit about, but not a lot, and I'm going to learn along with you. And guests, before I introduce you, I want you to wave hello to LinkedIn and wave hello to YouTube and wave hello twice, both hands, to Facebook. And we're also live streaming on the Voice America Business Channel, Voice America Media now. So there, and our engineer Jordan Henson is here for that channel. So I have a special opening, and I hope you enjoy it. And Arnulf, when I get to you, you're going to say your last name for me because I haven't gotten it down straight yet. Okay, so here we go. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where AI meets ecology. And today we'll explore how. Bonnie D on her Scarlett Mic leading the day. Biodiversity visionaries predictions are on the way. Simon J.A. Meitz, wave hello. Dr. Arnulf, pronounce your last name for me.
Köhncke.
Köhncke. And Adam Thompson, MBA 2, reveal how data and nature are aligning in view. From rainforests to reefs where new credits are found. The future of biodiversity plus AI will have value profound. And now I have a little gift for each of you as I rub my eye here. Okay, there we go. Simon, you're up first. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, good. This is new. From Unix hum to his grandmother's farm, Simon learned resilience, grit, and charm. Born to builders of vision and drive, he found where innovation keeps ideas alive. A strategist, a change maker, thought leader true, Simon blends impact and purpose in all he'll do. From London to Dubai, Simon's shaped grand design where business and nature seamlessly align. Now the founder of Nature Credits, he sets his mark, restoring biodiversity, igniting a fresh spark. With science, AI, and sensing from the sky, each credit is proven, transparent, and high. Simon partners with forests, land stewards, and teams to turn local care into measurable dreams. A market for nature, investable, clear, rewarding protection year after year. Still a mountaineer, a mentor, doting father at heart, he proves that success is both science and art. As a savvy marketer with flair, clever, and bold, Simon produces sassy videos that make every story told. Simon, I hope you enjoyed that. What do you think?
I love it. Thank you so much.
I'm
It's
glad
always great to listen to
You're
those stories of yours.
welcome. I'm glad. And now Arnulf is
I'm
next,
blushing.
brand new to the show. And Arnulf, I hope you enjoy this. Born to teachers of science, where wonder was sown, Arnulf found magic in nature's unknown. From Germany's shores to Sweden's sky, he studied how life and ecosystems tie. A ranger of birds in the wadden seas glow, Arnulf learned the balance that species bestow. From butterflies' choices to Cambodia's plains, his work turned theory to hands-on gains. At WWF, Arnulf's passion took flight, guiding species protection with global insight. From Nepal's peaks to Berlin's streams, he's lived conservation's very boldest dreams. Now leading teams where wetlands gleam, Arnulf brings science to life, not just a dream. With Nature Credits, his mission is clear, to value Earth's systems year after year. Arnulf, what do you think?
It's really nice. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Adam is back. And welcome to Adam. And here you go. From the Vale of Belvoir, where green fields gleam, Adam grew up living his circular dream. What his grandparents called frugality true, today we call circular, the world's fresh view. From Loughborough's labs to Warwick's MBA, Adam mapped how tech could show nature the way. a pilot in spirit, a jazz man by chance. He once jammed with Cullum, a rare circumstance. Now IBM's voice for sustainability's reign, guiding ESG goals with wisdom and gain. At COP, Adam's spoken for forest and sea, designing AI for the planet's needed plea. A beekeeping father, his tribe explores wild, 5 little adventurers, nature styled. From Kilimanjaro's snow to coral's hue, Adam reminds us there's much yet to do. Through credits and data, Adam's mission rings clear, protecting Earth's balance for all who dwell here. Adam?
That was lovely. Thank you, Bonnie.
You're very, very welcome. And I'll finish up with our visionary panelists. The future shines bright as AI transforms biodiversity with data-driven light. From smart grids to renewables, new pathways ensue. You'll stay around and hear how AI can power up eco and biodiversity for me and for you. I hope that was good. Yes, Simon, how do we do overall? What do you think?
Thank you so much. I mean, I was still looking for some profiles for our website, so here we go. I think we'll do the we don't do it in writing, but we use your sound bits. Thanks.
There you go. I'll send you the clips, I promise.
Send me the invoice later.
Oh, well, nobody's ever offered. Of course I will. I want to thank you all. Listen, I'm ready for the part of the show where I've asked each of you to please send me a quote from a fictional character in a fictional movie or TV show, or even a song lyric, and you're going to relate it to our topic, biodiversity and AI. So I'm going to start off with Simon, and let's go to your quote. I'm going to read it. And by the way, if there's anything else you want to add about your bio, you can incorporate it into the quote when you're explaining it, okay? So Simon has picked a quote from Johnny Castle, played by the late, very wonderful, great dancer. What a good-looking guy, Patrick Swayze. Why did you leave us so soon? The movie was Dirty Dancing. I was a disco dancer back in the day. I can relate. I love those scenes from that movie. 1987 romantic drama dance film. Interestingly enough, it was written by Eleanor Bergstein, and there's a story in here. It was about her childhood, Simon. She wrote a screenplay for a Michael Douglas film, It's My Turn, and ended up doing the story that became Dirty Dancing. MGM was going through a upset in management, and the film went into development hell, but eventually it got produced. And here we go. Here's the quote. This is a famous and classic. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Okay, Simon, putting you on speaker view. Why don't you tell us what this means to our topic, and welcome back. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. I think nobody puts baby in a corner. That's exactly how I see what's happening with sustainability right now. So you're reading the headlines, and don't worry, we're not getting political here, but it sounds often like the climate agenda is over, companies are abandoning ESG, investors are backing down, or the ESG teams are packing their green PowerPoints. But this is not the truth, to be honest. And that's great, because Harvard Business Review just found, and that was just a week ago, I think, that whilst corporates are communicating less about the sustainability, the actual investment and the implementation are rising. So they saw that about 30% of the companies are expanding their climate investment, and nearly 90% are staying at the same level or strengthening their existing commitments. And so you can see that's not a retreat, that's actually refocusing. It's something that these authors call green hushing, and I thought that's quite interesting. So instead of this trend of shouting about their commitments, it's more about doubling down on delivery. And this delivery is massively, and we talk about that later, powered by AI. So AI is the Kevin Swayze pulling baby up, pulling sustainability up.
Patrick Swayze, Johnny Castle. Yes, that's okay.
Patrick Swayze pulling sustainability up, lifting it back into the limelight. And I think the important message here that I want to send to every CEO out there listening is that you should not make the mistake to think that it's getting a bit quieter about sustainability right now and take that as a reason to step back. It's actually the opposite. So right now is the time not to take silence as a signal to slow down, but to actually start acting to not miss the next big wave of growth, and particularly in biodiversity.
You know something? That was a great scene in the movie. Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner. He's been rehearsing with Baby, that was her nickname, and he walks right up to the stage and lifts her up in these great disco moves they had rehearsed, and everybody is wow. And he redeems his reputation as a good guy and not a bad guy. It was quite a scene, but very interesting quote you picked, Simon. And I'm thinking of The Sound of Music. The hills are alive. We could change that lyric to The hills are alive with the sound of nature credits. Like that one?
That's nice. That's nice.
Okay.
That's a
All
great one.
right. There you go. You're very, very welcome. And by the way, I know you wanted to show a little bit of a clip from your video. Do you have it available? Because we can tee it up later in the show. I can make the sharing available to you if you want to do that.
Yeah, of course we can.
Okay,
More than happy
good. So
to.
let's do that toward the end of the show because we've got a lot to cover here. So let's go to Arnulf, and Arnulf has sent a very interesting quote. 3 words. I like the little quotes, Arnulf. They pack a punch. Okay, this is from a song called Alive, 1991, the debut single by, of all bands, Pearl Jam, released on July 7th. It was 51 days before the band's debut album, which was called 10, the number 10, Ten, on which it appears. Written by guitarist Stone Gossard, it originated as an instrumental titled Dollar Short. It was included on a demo tape. They were hoping to find a singer for the group. Vocalist Eddie Vedder got a copy of the tape, wrote the lyrics, and said, okay, well, I don't know, something about his father not being his father and all of that. And he was a security guard for a petroleum company. How's that for history? Anyway, he listened to it, he recorded it, and they said, yes, you've got the job. So here is the quote Arnulf has picked. I'm still alive. I love this. Arnulf, I'm putting you on speaker view. What has this got to do, in your own words, with our topic? Go ahead.
Well, to begin with, it has something to do with me because I really like music, and Pearl Jam was one of the first bands that were kind of important to me. I'm not old enough to have listened to the single when I was born in '80, so this is when I was 11. But the 2 albums later was when I kind of started. So it connects to me personally, and honestly, it spoke to me because you were just saying the hills are alive. Nature, in fact, the whole world is alive, and it's still alive. And I think we do well to remember that it's alive. And if you go outside of your house, there's no need to go on safari in Africa, really. If you can, of course you can. But the point is that you can, touch your meadow and see if there's a butterfly. I don't know what the weather is like, or listen to a bird, or just, connect with nature. And I think the point to me is that there is a deep connection between humans and nature, and we're part of nature, and we would do well to remember that. And we can phrase that in economic terms, of course. We can phrase that in that over half of, what global GDP depends on nature, that we lose trillions of sort of value to nature. And we need to make that argument in the boardrooms. But I think at the same time, we need to make the argument how, we're connected to nature and how we've lost some of that connection. And I think that is, honestly, that's a very strong message. And it's good to remember that everything is still alive and there's a lot to protect. A lot has gone on, unfortunately, but there's a lot to protect. And that's, I think, where, making the turn toward AI comes in, because in my own conservation career, I've seen how we're deeply convinced that we need to conserve it, but often we don't know enough about it. We don't know what the status of nature is. We do know that it's kind of declining. We know average rates, etc. And we're getting more and more data, and we get more and more information. And so we get new bottlenecks coming up and sort of new ideas. And that's where AI becomes very powerful suddenly in telling us about the state of nature and letting us know sort of what do we do where, how can we invest, how can we make sure that, effects are really working, that because it's all going to be about impact in the end, to be honest. If we don't know what we're doing has an impact on nature the way we intend it to have, then it will be hard to say if we're going in the right direction. And I think that's where AI really comes in, sort of as a headlight in terms of nature data and in terms of conserving what is alive around us, and honestly what is sustaining our own lives in the end.
Very well put. Thank you very much. Today, I'm expecting in about 2 hours landscapers to come. I have a 4 yard property on a corner here, and it really hurt me to have them say we can't transplant what we're taking out, and they just put them in the back of a truck and took them away. Some very pretty azalea bushes and some things that had been here for 20 years. Would you believe there was a shrub, a large bush on the corner of my driveway, and I had them take it out? And they told me underneath the green on the outside, it was all sticks inside. That's the way it grew. So it was just a bunch of sticks supporting an outer layer of green. So we couldn't just trim it back because there would be nothing to look at. It took 3 men 2 days to get that out of the ground, Arnulf. They started with shovels. It broke the handle on a stainless steel regular shovel, bent it in half. I kid you not. They came back the next day with 2 other men, pickaxes. It took them an hour in 35, you know, the weather, 35 degrees here that morning. They had to put a collar around it and attach it to a chain to their truck. And they finally got it out of the ground. This was here for 20 years. It was about 6 feet tall and round, about 6 by 6, it was beautiful, but it was blocking the view it was hard to drive around. So I'm sorry, tree. It hurt my feelings, but I'm putting in beautiful new trees today. Okay, enough of that. Thank you very much. And I appreciate how you said your personal background in conservation as well as your business. I go outside and I take pictures of my trees in all of the seasons, Arnif, and I use them as backgrounds on casual Zoom calls with friends. I put up flowers or butterflies from my yard. And it's a nice feeling to say, look at all the beauty right outside my window. Really is. So thank you very much. Love the quote. Adam has got a quote. This is a classic too, for goodness sake. Christopher Lloyd playing Doc Emmett Brown. Back to the Future, 1985 sci-fi comedy film. The first film in the trilogy was the highest grossing of 1985, considered one of the greatest sci-fi films ever. Okay, The Adventures of High School Student Marty McFly, played by the wonderful, gladly still with us, Michael J. Fox, eccentric scientist Dr. Emmett Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd, and Mary Steenburgen came in the third one. In 2019, I don't know if you know this, Adam, McFly was selected by Empire Magazine as the 12th greatest movie character of all time. Did you know that?
I didn't until you shared the research, and
There you
quite
go.
rightly so, he should be. He should be in the top 10, in my
Is
opinion.
that
But
something? And I think Doc Brown should be up there too. You know what? Let's move Marty to 10 and let's move Doc Brown to 12. We'll ask him to move over. Here's the quote. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. Okay, very futuristic statement. Adam, relate it to our biodiversity plus AI. Go.
firstly, thank you for having me again. Lovely to be with
You're
Arnold.
welcome.
I'm into. So from my perspective, and most know me as a bit of a stato, so I'm going to avoid that today. But just to make it also a little bit personal, not about my landscaping, but where I live, somewhere here is a place called Passau. Most who's listening is like, where the dickens is Passau? If you know where Munich is, you know where Vienna is. Draw a straight line. Right in the middle of that straight line is this place called Passau. 3 major rivers come to the city, and every year the city gets flooded, unsurprisingly. So what does the city do? And this is a city which is near and dear to me. My kids were born here, and I've tried to help the local mayor, amongst others. Won't go into the politics. But what they do, they basically build flood defenses, right? And these flood defenses are like 28 meters high, costing like 200 million plus per each segment. And if we're looking at it in that perspective about our connection with nature, nature as infrastructure, nature as a utility, I mean, we won't need roads. We're gonna need boats, right? Frankly. And then if I go to on my other side of my family, we have a place in Jerez, so down in southern Spain. And I was only there a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, due to the forest fires, we won't need roads either because you can't drive on them. I mean, quite literally. So just a little plug for anybody who is in need for a new pet and can give it a good home. We volunteer with the local animal shelter, so our house is like a zoo in Jerez right now. So do shout out. So.
Aw.
For the last 4 years now, I've been an EU Climate Pact ambassador. And that's not to have a nice jazzy title in a voluntary capacity, but it's under the skin in terms of if we had a time machine, seriously, joking aside. I work for a company where our stock has gone up 150% the last couple of years, quantum being a massive part of this, AI is our focus for the company, great. But frankly, if there's no planet, because we basically keep taking and extracting all the resource, well, we're not going to be in a very good place looking at a futuristic outlook. So how then, in hindsight, having a time machine would be great, but taking those lessons learned, actually using AI to ingest these lessons learned. So white paper that we've done, about wealth or woe, and that's quite an interesting one. It takes into account a couple of 100,000 scientific papers to basically really map out around the globe what have we detracted, and try and be diplomatic in my wording, and what could we do better? And that's across all realms of life. And I think if we would then apply that now, given that nature's slowly getting into the boardroom bit by bit, so kudos to the TNFDs, so Tony Goldner, Dave Craig, I salute both of them. It tests the work that they've done. But I think when we start getting that accounting leveraged with scientific technology, namely AI, and actually funding, so coming to the nature credits or nature-based solutions as a whole, then we can start to turn the corner. And that's where the future should go. Time machine, if you do actually build it, let us know. Happy to step back maybe at 88 miles an hour a bit quicker to hopefully fix some of the wrongs that we've done in our past lives.
AI might be that time machine. It's hard to say. We might be looking at it right now. Interesting. I'm going to ask a question before I go into the predictions. I've got wonderful predictions. I'll pick one from each of you. I'm going to read one from Simon first. I'll tell you which one it is. You don't need to find it. I'll read it. And then I'll go around the table and ask for agree or disagree for Simon's prediction from Adam and Arnulf. And then I'll read one from Arnulf and the same thing around the table and Adam. My question is, do people know about this yet? Do they know that they should care? Do they know that something needs to be done? Let me start with Simon. Just take a minute or two around the table. Why does this matter? I'm going to ask a really tough question. And don't be mad at me, but why does this matter? Because I've never covered this topic before. And here we are. And I want to know. It matters to me because I'm looking for interesting, savvy thought leaders to bring interesting AI topics. But why should it matter to the world? So, Simon, what do you think? Why does it matter?
Um, I think a lot of people don't know it matters, but they don't know how much it matters, and they don't know exactly what kind of
Hmm.
impact it has on their lives. If you talk about uh, if you talk about people on their potential, and that's when we're talking about forestry that I'm mainly engaged with now, on their potential additional revenue streams, how much of an uplift concerning yourself with biodiversity could have. And for corporates, we just heard it, it sometimes sounds like they're turning down a bit on this on the sustainability front, but I think there's a new development on the horizon, and given what this Harvard Business Review just found, behind the scenes there is a lot going on, and a lot I think needs to happen, given the lead time also it takes for corporates to implement, for example, new trends, new regulation. We're talking 12 to 24 months there. So,
Okay. Thank you.
well, long
Let's see.
answer to a simple
That's
question, but it's
okay.
actually
No,
it's not that simple, to be
I
honest.
know. That's why I want to explain it. Arnav, what's your thought? Why should people care?
I think it's a crucial question, to be honest. I think
Hmm.
people should care because their lives depend on it. That's the very
Okay.
basic question. Your healthy and happy lives depend on intact nature around you. So that COVID is one example of what happens if for instance, zoonotic diseases jump over from animals to people because new contact emerges, and because of practices are not health conscious in a way. But in a more general sense, if you look at, for instance, Davos, every year
Hmm.
the people, if you ask leaders about the risks for economy for their business, essentially, biodiversity loss emerges in the top 5 every year. So it's
Mm.
very clear that biodiversity loss is a huge risk to businesses, because businesses depend on what we call ecosystem services. So you need, clean water. You need soil that doesn't get blown away because there's horrible
Hmm.
erosion. Maybe you need the forest for your product. The most one easily imagined service is pollination. You need insects to pollinate your apples, etc.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you don't have any apples.
Yep.
So there's a lot of risk involved here. And I think the problem is the gap between knowing that something has to be done and doing it. And that's the key thing. So people know that something has to be done, and we talk about it every year, several times, with the conferences around biodiversity and climate. But you have to get down to business and do it. And
Okay.
that's where it becomes about funding, it becomes about regulation, it becomes about opportunity. and just making this case to individuals. And I think now we're at a time where it's kind of taking off. So it's about individual, not individual people, but individual, companies, etc., taking championship, taking action. And I am convinced that will become more mainstream because it needs to become more mainstream. But that's where we are.
It's a 5-syllable word. We got to get it into the vocabulary. Adam can say it real fast. Adam, briefly, what do you think? Why should people care? What's your POV?
Okay, so I've had the wonderful opportunity of being on some of these COPs, and obviously the next one's just kicking off, and speaking with different folks around the globe, both in terms of governmental roles, through to NGOs, through to corporate financial institutions. Reality is the education or the knowledge has not been there historically. So if you are looking at AI and you're looking at, okay, what does AI require? So if someone says to you, how much water does AI consume? Most people will have no clue. If you then say, hey, I like to, for argument's sake, I just came back from Central Africa. I like to look at the elephants, and this is actually where Arnulf and I started. Well, that's nice, but then if you lose the elephants, well, to be honest, do you realize that's 250 hectares of carbon sequestration every time? Do you realize that's 1.75 million per elephant in terms of the current carbon prices? Do you realize that your company in your value chain is actually extrapolating natural resource and not giving back? This is exactly the lack of education, and almost I've got like Mandela and Gandhi in my head in terms of all the quotes that we could say. But I mean, the reality is that we can carry on the journey that we're on, and I know there's been a lot of scaremongering, hearsay, but the facts on the table, given that it's not been accounted, nature, ecosystems have not been accounted historically, when it's gone, it's gone. And all this great stuff that we have right now in AI and quantum and all the rest, that will also be gone. Let's not beat about the bush. Everyone's been focused on the wrong metrics, like GDP in particular. But actually, when we start looking at it more holistically and realizing what's those intrinsic interdependencies, and just imagine, forbid, certain corporations that they would actually start sticking biodiversity on the balance sheet, then I think we start to move a needle, not just a little bit, a heck of a lot. So I think why does it matter? Frankly, our civilization depends on it. I know that's a very bold statement to make, but
That's what I wanted you to say. That's what I wanted to hear you all say, that we depend on it. We need it, not just, well, it's something nice to have, and maybe when you get around to it. No, that was the point I wanted to make. When I introduce a new topic, I want to know, why are we talking about this? Why are we valuing it? And obviously we do. Thank you all. Let's move to the predictions. Simon, I'm going to read your prediction number 1. Unpack it, and let's see what your colleagues have to say. So Simon says, AI-powered geospatial tools will help landowners identify the polygon potential of forest plot and assess which parcels are capable of generating high-quality nature credits and additional income. That is a whole term paper in one sentence, Simon. There is so much information you packed in that. So could you unpack it and define it for us, please? Decipher? Go ahead.
I know there's a lot in.
I like it. I'm complimenting you.
I hope I can make it in 3 minutes. Maybe I'll start out with one more comment on your question before. And I think, funny enough, I think the why is pretty clear. I think the why everybody knows, as Arnulf said, it's been on the agenda, on the top list for years, why biodiversity matters. But it's the question on what moves the needle with corporates, with landowners, and so on. And that's a mix of regulation and a business case. And this is something where we really need to find solutions to define scalable business models, basically. And now back to the prediction.
No, I put it in the chat for you if you want to refer to it. So I just stuck it in the private chat to you. Go ahead.
That's fine. So AI-powered geospatial tools will help landowners, so we're talking about landowners and forest owners, identify the polygon potential of forest plots.
What does that mean?
So we are now walking into the world of nature restoration, and I think one of my favorite new buzzwords is the polygon and the polygon potential per se. It sounds super techy, but basically what it means, it's a building block of our planet's future. So a polygon is a digital boundary that we can choose, a piece of a forest, a piece of a meadow, a wetland, or whatever it is, a piece of land. And with AI, we can turn this polygon, or we can analyze that polygon and understand how much potential for biodiversity increase does this specific polygon have? Which of these polygons on my land have the highest potential to increase the biodiversity? And that means you're focusing your efforts on the right things with the least amount of starting capital. And if you let's make that like really practical. So you're a forest owner in Bavaria. Of course, we're in Bavaria. And your day-to-day business means like you're generating revenues from timber production. But if you're going down the route of biodiversity powered by AI, so we're talking about remote sensing tools and satellite based on satellite data, you can then identify in which parts of your land, of your forest, you can start a biodiversity project, and on top of your normal timber net revenues, generate additional biodiversity, which results in additional biodiversity credits, or as we call them, as with the new regulation in the EU, nature credits, and that will give you additional income. And it's basically, in the end of the day, a financial X-ray of your land, telling you, hey, there's a heat map. Where should I start? What should I ideally do? And how can I generate these biodiversity uplifts? And this is something in my mind where the green transition really gets exciting, because it's like it's not about regulation anymore. It's about you're literally empowering landowners and forest owners, and AI is helping them to draw to focus their attention on their land, and exactly on the right bits and areas of the land where it makes, from a ecosystem perspective, the most sense.
Thank you. Very interesting. I looked up polygon potential, and it said it's a concept that is not applied to any particular topic, but it focuses on future growth and value. So I just wanted to see what it was. Okay, well, you got to copyright that, Simon. You got to put a little trademark on that. It's official. We're all a witness to that today. Let's go around the table. Adam is laughing the loudest. What did you think about what Simon said? And then we'll get to Arnulf. What did you think, Adam?
I don't think he's wrong. I think Simon, and I also like the copyright idea.
Okay.
I think so. Let's just take a small step back. Up until now, we've all been speaking about carbon credits, and we've all been speaking about how much stuff can we sequestrate in the ground, etc. And let's also be a little bit honest and candid here. There's been good press and extremely bad press regarding this. And part of that's all been about trust and transparency. And there's a particular news article from my home country, then from the UK, which basically completely distorted the mood of the market. But the reality are there are also a couple of deficiencies with the principles around this, right? And this comes to polygon potential, which I like. One deficiency was that, hey, you're doing damage, or you're doing, for argument's sake, emitting greenhouse gases in a particular area, let's say Bavaria, and you might then go and buy your credits with something that's done in the Amazon or wherever, given that we're talking COP30. I think what's the interesting thing here, though, is that now it's actually looking at it more holistically rather than just one metric. I think that for me, the polygon potential makes sense. I also think what makes sense, it doesn't matter which walk of life you come from, and this comes back to the right metric or wrong one in terms of return on investment and GDP. If you can actually provide value back to the custodians of our natural resources, well, that's only got to be a good thing for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. And I think on the other side, coming back then to why did the voluntary market go or get upskilled? It wasn't about, or trust is one factor where people believe in it or not, but it was also the transparency. And I think that's the difference from like a decade ago when a lot of this started, where somebody will literally go out in a field, count a number of trees in a field in terms of a sample and say, that's this size, and I'll just multiply this up by the plot of land that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a surprise. Or conversely, if you are buying your credits, and it's the other side of in Timbuktu, part of the expression, and actually they're not doing what was actually in the project description, well, quite rightly, this gives a wrong vibe and wrong emphasis as to
Mm-hmm.
where we're trying to do goodness. And to be fair to some of the standard setters, I think I don't say they've fought back, but they've really provided more transparency, which has just helped. And I think
Yes.
that part is the part that's going to lift this up. But I think, to be honest, we're now having an AI moment in this particular industry because that's driving each of these. So the science is clear, why is a good thing. The
Mm-hmm.
transparency, how can we do it at scale so we don't have to send somebody on a boat to the other side of the world to, audit it on an annual basis. And then thirdly, reward those where the damage is done. So if you are, to Simon's example then in Bavaria, well, then they should be rewarded in Bavaria. And if you are polluting or doing whatever that's not good for nature in Bavaria,
Mm-hmm.
have that local to local illustration. And I think that's what's going to change not just the narrative, but the relationship as well with nature. Because if you're paying out your own pocket for a forest, a re-wriggling of a
Sure.
river, whatever, then it's clearly much more meaningful. But also you have that relationship. It's not just a number you're sticking in a spreadsheet.
Yep. We want to get past that. Arnulf, I'd love to get your comments on it, and then I'm going to do a prediction from Arnulf looking at the clock. Go ahead, Arnulf. What do you say? Thank you,
Yes,
Adam.
I'll try to be brief. So first off, I'm a sort of an ecologist nerd at heart, so I like the techiness of polygon potential, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Adam you who threw it out in a personal meeting that we had. So I agree with putting a little parentheses C behind it. Um, I think it's the key point is that we discussed the why, right? This is about the how, and it's about sort of enabling people to make decisions and to make nature count. And I mean in a monetary way, because we're not just dismantling capitalism at this point, where we're moving within the system to making nature count, that it's valuable to you to increase biodiversity on your lands, and that you can make an informed decision and have support. And then the idea is that you get benefits from that. And that of course they need to be transparent, additional, etc., as Adam was discussing, because that we learn, right? That we otherwise we lose credibility. And most importantly, we don't have the necessary impact that we need for nature if we don't do this. So I think that's why it's super interesting to have this AI perspective on, enabling people to make very informed decisions with a business case behind it that also finances these decisions, because otherwise it's just a nice decision, a nice idea.
Yes.
Because then you get stuck within the how.
Yes.
So that's just my quick take.
Thank you. No, thank you. Great around the table. Simon, thank you for that prediction. I'm going to go to one from Arnulf, and I have one I'm going to throw in here, but we don't need to talk about it. But Arnulf, it was so funny, I have to say it. Arnulf wrote, AI will help better identify species from camera trap images, even individuals of specific species, such as elephants from pictures of their, shall we say, large derrieres. So we'll just leave that one alone. I had to mention that. Never mind. Okay, Bonnie, move on. Okay, prediction number 3. This is from Arnulf. AI will empower volunteer conservationists to gather high quality data with AI-based tools. Boy, you've got it all in here, such as digital audio recorders, digital image recording and analysis, even digital video recording and analysis. I like this one. Volunteer conservationists. Arnulf, I'm going to put you on speaker view. Take your full 3 minutes, and then we'll get a quick response from your colleagues around the table. Go ahead, Arnulf.
All right, thanks a lot. So this is really around data gaps. So the idea is that we often don't know enough about biodiversity. We try to scale up sort of knowing enough biodiversity from a distance, from remote sensing, etc. But for some species groups, we know that this is difficult. So at the same time, while we do it from a distance, it's super interesting how AI can empower people that are not extreme specialists to identify species. We already have tools that can identify bird song in real time from audio recordings. I encourage everybody to try it out. It's very impressive. It's Merlin. It's not commercial, so we can drop the name, and you can download. You can listen to the world, and it tells you what's singing, and it's very impressive. And we can do that with insects from photographs, with plants from photographs, And I envision a world where you would have volunteers sort of going around nature spaces and set up protocols so that these data are comparable. And then essentially sort of the problem is that you need to have enough knowledge, and that's where AI then comes in with regard to, video analyses, et cetera. So you just kind of move through the landscape. That was the idea, the prediction, that people will move through landscapes, gathering data on ecosystems. And if you do that, of course, from that point, it's just one short step to not having people do it. I mean, you could also have a drone do it. You could have sensors from anything that moves do it. If things move, whatever, railways, cars, etc. So it's very impressive. It doesn't have to be people volunteers. It can be any moving object with sensors and these AI sort of analyses that come after the data collection. So this is more about data collection, about audio, visual, and then AI to identify species. And then you can figure out with the right statistical models, not to become too technical here, but you can, have as long as you sample the data in a comparative way, how you sampled it, then you should be able to analyze it in a way that tells you whether things are improving or not, whether things are becoming more or less.
Yeah. Will there be I'm going to make up a name here, CBO, a Chief Biodiversity Officer? Is there such a thing already? Just a yes or no. Is anybody aware that there are people who do this in companies right now? Adam, what do you think?
Chief Nature Officer does exist in certain financial institutions already.
Okay, didn't know that. Interesting.
City of Berlin also has a Chief Biodiversity Officer. So.
Interesting. I just was throwing that out there. Interesting. Let's go around the table and get some comments on Arnulf's on this imaging and sharing the data and being scalable. I like the idea that it's not just human conservationists. It could be anything that's out there that's moving. Simon, quick response to Arnulf. Go ahead.
I think data sharing different data sources is a super important trend to drive this development. And I'm not sure if you remember that from our last show about it was still about cars and about sensors there. So even cars could be used as sensors. And I think you can fire up the next leap of this development by connecting these different data streams. So at some point, it's about we collect data. That's step one from different sources. Step two is then to collect this data in a joint platform to break down those barriers of like different data sources, different brands that are collecting them, different those data silos. And once you've merged these data into one platform, I think that's where AI can make the most benefit of it, and it can analyze it across data streams, across platforms, and give the best recommendations also with regards, of course, to biodiversity and sustainability then.
Thank you. And you know what I'm going to do, Adam? Instead of having you comment on Arnulf's prediction, I'm going to read your prediction number 4. I think this is a nice place to insert it, and then we'll go around the table. So Adam says, AI-enabled platforms will turn nature credit trading into a real-time marketplace for verified impact. Smarter recommender engines will contact landowners and corporate buyers through the word you've used before, transparent, data-backed, and here's the kicker, Tinder for nature credit systems. I'm putting the air quotes around it, and Arnulf likes that one, that align projects to regional ecosystem goals and regulatory needs. That is very, very interesting. It brings it down to a real people, real person basis. Adam, why don't you take your 3 minutes? I want to make some time for Simon to show a video. So go ahead, Adam. Talk to us. What does this mean?
Okay, so this isn't necessarily just seeing different nature projects and swiping from left to right, just to be clear on that.
Touche.
But what I do want to get across is, so look, just taking a step back, even a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago.
Okay, I had to put that in. I apologize. Go ahead.
Even looking like a couple of years ago, where we were at technology in terms of AI, machine learning, etc., that was great, right? But you needed to have some pretty highly specialized data scientists, whether it's on geospatial or whether it's in different types of data sets, bring it all together to give you the results and the insight. Today, a bit to Arnold's point about listening to, I suppose, bioacoustics, we are now at a stage where anybody, any of us on this call, can literally come along with the different apps or the available data, even if you're not a geospatial specialist, use natural language, and you can get the data and the insights that you need. Now, to the point of what's open or public versus private, won't go into that discussion today, but of course, an open ecosystem and network effects that come from that's obviously goodness for everybody, no questions asked. Now, in terms of the marketplace, and this comes back to before there were, let's for a better word, blockers for smallholders who might be farmers or might only have a couple of hundred hectares of forest, et cetera, to have access to these different marketplaces. For the simple reason that the admin fees are not insignificant and the return on investment would be negative. So there's no business case. But now with catchment areas, with these, let's say, multiplier factors of marketplaces, which provides them the tools which they didn't have in the past, whether it was on your phone or laptop, however, that actually now is going to provide the accelerator for inclusiveness, transparency, because it'll also all be driven through the same platform or platforms in terms of algorithms, methods, etc. And equally, this will actually bring home, for when we come to the speed dating piece, who are the suppliers in terms of the different projects and who actually has a demand. How do you know what is your nature footprint? How do you know what is your impact or your risks for the next years? And if you look at the insurance industry in particular, they won't insure pockets around the globe already due to natural disaster. Let's be quite clear on this. So if you can start to channel the funding to come up with these nature-based solutions in this direction or nature credits, then absolutely, this is the next, let's say, it's not an evolution, but revolution for nature. And so should it be. I'm going to pause there because I know I've got 3 minutes. So Bonnie, happy to go around the table and see what Arnulf or Simon think.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. I'm still stuck on the Tinder for credits. I think that's kind of, I've never used Tinder. I'm past that stage. Okay, Simon, Arnulf, a quick comment, and I'm going to let Simon share the video. Simon, I'm going to stop my sound sharing right now so we make it available to you when you're ready. But let's go to Arnulf. What do you think about what Adam just predicted? What do you think?
Honestly, it would be huge. It would be amazing. Let me add something,
Yes.
which is I like the Tinder aspect is the choosing, but I would like to add the adding up of things. Because if you had that, you would have all the impact of the different steps that different people have taken and funded and financed and done. And you could add that up. And that would be huge because it would be like a dashboard essentially for privately done conservation with credits, with different nature-based solutions, etc. And that would be very, very important as sort of a dashboard. And how far did you move the needle? Essentially, you could see that. And I also see the tenderness of it in a way that, you have the competitiveness. You have the which product has which thing has more impact, which is the nicer one, which looks better, but not on a superficial way, but in an actual impact way. And I think both things are like, cross-pollinating one another to stay within nature, both the competition and the adding up things. So it's both.
We will want to copyright what you just said. Adam is smiling, and so am I. You said the tenderness of it all, and that was lovely. It's such a novel idea, but you know what? It speaks to people at a level where they understand it, they grasp it. Look at the age groups that would know, oh, Tinder, oh, not swiping left and right, oh, value and growth and attractiveness, perhaps, of the options of what you want to do, what you want to make possible, what you want to invest in, where you want to get the credits. Very interesting. Simon, do you have that video ready? You must be muted, dear. You're muted. Simon, you are muted.
Yes, I got it ready. Let me just see. Do I need to share my screen?
Yes,
correct?
Go to share and go share my
and
computer screen or a video. There might be a video option too.
Okay, that's fine. And then also with sound, correct?
Yes, with sound.
And then we should be good to go.
We're sharing our screen.
Yeah, should I go?
Not working yet.
What if we told you that one of the greatest economic and environmental breakthroughs of the time is happening right here? The EU Nature Credits Roadmap opens a groundbreaking opportunity not just to save our ecosystems, but to completely redefine how we value and protect nature. A 37 billion euro market to be shared by everyone. Imagine German forest owners are custodians of our trees, whom currently on average make a moderate 2 to 3% returns, to now be able to increase their income through nature credits, whilst uplifting biodiversity and preserving our ecosystems. Just remember, for every euro invested in nature restoration, it creates between 8 and 38 euros in economic benefits, and has many regulations behind it to drive positive nature investment, such as EU Nature Restoration Law, Global Biodiversity Framework, and Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, amongst others. However, the reality, global biodiversity loss is currently accelerating at 100 to 1,000 times the natural rate. Picture this: Germany's once thriving forests turning to barren landscapes as biodiversity vanishes.
Clean water dries up, fertile soil erodes, and ecosystem services that support 72% of Europe's businesses disappear, exacting a $2 trillion per year toll on the global economy. This isn't a distant projection, it's the reality we're rushing towards. Nature degradation has been observed over the last decades, with many obstacles existing in protecting and restoring it, from lack of regulation and enforcement to available science-based monitoring and reporting technologies, to actually valuing and rewarding nature itself to fund its restoration. Nature credits transforms conservation into economic opportunity by restoring ecosystems and protecting vital biodiversity.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, it stopped. It
Okay,
stopped.
fine, perfect. It stopped. I just didn't want to turn that into an advertising, to be honest. I thought it's
That's
a good.
okay.
I thought it's a great opportunity to actually show something about the nature credits.
It's lovely. You can stop sharing now so we can come back, okay?
Let me see. Can I
Stop
stop
sharing at the top.
sharing?
Yep.
Let me just stop sharing. There you go.
Okay, and let's go back to the panel. Not
Stop
yet.
sharing for 1 second. Stop
Okay.
sharing, and then is it
And we
stopped?
we got a beautiful picture there of somebody's stop participant sharing. I'm going to do it for you. There we are. We're back.
Thank you.
Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I was intrigued not only by I've seen this video before. You played it for me before, but Simon, I was intrigued by the voice you chose for this. Very, very interesting that it was a very American voice, very regionally neutral voice that anybody I think could understand. And who is your audience for this? If this is just for nature credits, but who is going to be seeing this?
I think for me, this is the first intro, the first touch point with the topic that really explains on the why. Yeah, we talked about it. It really makes clear what the why is, why we should be doing about that, and that's also why we chose that voice. I mean, it's a global challenge,
Yeah.
and we all need to do something for it against that risk and for an increased biodiversity. Well, in the final part of the video, you will see a bit more about the newly founded company, of course. But this is really the first part is really about the why and what's on the horizon. So it's a good starting point to kickstart the conversation about it.
Nicely done. Very nicely done. Thank you for showing that. I want to go around the table and I have literally 1 minute for each of you. And I'm going to be watching the grains of sand in my imaginary hourglass here. What's your wish? We're November 2025 already. I don't know where the year's gone. It first seemed slow, and now it's like, wait a minute. We're almost at New Year's. Time to buy something for drinking on New Year's Eve, everybody. Your party. Start planning invitations. You know that. Okay. Question is, what's your wish for the future of biodiversity plus AI / nature credits in 2026? Let's go really, really near term. A 1 minute wish / prediction. It could be I predict or I would like to see. You just spoke first, Simon, so I'm going to go to Arnulf. You talk. 1 minute. What would you like to see next year, or what do you think is going to happen?
Well, in 2026, that's quite soon.
Yep.
I would like to see regulation becoming clearer around credits in the EU, because it would make a lot of decisions a lot easier for people who are really wanting to do things for nature, but are sort of a bit unclear yet what will actually happen. So that would be really helpful to have this regulation there and then get more clarity on the how for nature restoration and nature conservation, because the why is very clear. I have the additional wish would be that more people understand it and that we get it in more sort of boardrooms and more decision makers put a higher priority on nature in political and economic decision making. And in that case, regulation would help.
Thank you. Adam, 1 minute. Force yourself. Go ahead. Fast. Veet.
Okay, so I think I'm going to be a bit boring, but I'm going to follow Arnulf on the regulation.
You're never boring. Never boring. Go ahead.
TNFD, I think, should go from voluntary to mandatory. They've already got a good crowd, but that will start sticking nature more in the boardroom and channeling the funding where it's needed. I think ISO's just come out with their standard for biodiversity, which I think is going to make massive change on the data front. So it standardizes, so we have an apples and apples comparison a little bit more. And I think thirdly, yes, on the EU Nature Credits Roadmap, 100% aligned. But I think the point here is the ecosystems. Also, you need to start mirroring up the landowners, independent of what type of project you're going to do. with obviously those who are going to be project developers, so like Simon and Arnulf that you got on the call here, to then, let's say myself, more on the corporate side, saying, hey, how can we actually start to do this in a partnership manner? So I don't think this is going to be a supply demand topic. I do think that this is going to be more partnership oriented going forwards.
Beautiful. Simon, you got 30 seconds. Sorry, but this is also brilliant. You have plenty. Go ahead. 30 seconds. Go.
No worries at all. I think, I mean, I need to echo the regulations part, but the reason is a bit different. I think we need the regulation there now and soon to actually turn this into a true green and viable business case for landowners, for corporates, and for all the parties in the ecosystem that are engaged in this. And it will, I'm certain of this, because only this green business case is actually what drives that transformation.
Thank you. Simon, thank you so much for bringing
Thank you.
Adam. Lovely to see you back. Arnulf, you were a wonderful panelist. Thank you so much. It was been delightful and educational to meet you and have you here. I'm going to play the outro music.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get
Are you
this
tired
volume
of
up
hearing
here.
The future is already here. We are too.
Can you hear that?
May have been yesterday's future.
Listen
but
up.
Today's future
This is a cool
hasn't
outro.
happened
Listen.
yet. Take a deep breath. Tune out the hype, the noise, and turn up the volume. Savvy, art of the possible technology visionaries
That's all of
talking
you.
about how today's innovations right now are shaping every aspect of our real
Here it
future.
comes. Wait for
We'll
it.
laser focus our spotlight on buzzworthy tech like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, augmented reality, and lots more.
Lots more.
Clear your calendar and open your mind for Technology Revolution, the future of now. With the most upbeat host on global radio, Bonnie D. Graham. Listen anywhere, anytime, on any device.
Thank you to Ryan Treasure. Adam and Arnulf, Simon knows this already. That was recorded about 6 years ago. And I can't believe I wrote that. And I can't believe that it still works today. So everybody wave goodbye to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to YouTube, to two YouTubes. We've got the Voice America Media Business, and we've got mine. And we will meet again. I want to do a part 2 on this next year. So